So hello everyone, it is 5 o'clock. Let me slowly start this webinar. There might be still some people logging on now at the moment, but at first I do like to introduce a bit of the technical functionality. We did have some issues with audio connections in the past. We don't really know where the technical glitch is, so please do let me know. Raise your hand or write something in the question pane if you experienced interference with the audio connection, if you can't hear me, because that's our communication channel. So if you don't hear me, then that's half the joy of the webinar. You're welcome to write questions throughout the webinar. I will once in a while review the question pane, either to take some questions throughout or at the end of the webinar. It probably takes me about 45 minutes, and then we do still have some room for question. But if we move through the outline, it's going to be different parts anyway. So I will introduce the basic concepts, things you need to know, some vocabulary if you work with the network view function. And so once we do that, there's a kind of a point to stop. I can just briefly hold. You can ask some questions if you have any at this particular point in time. Then we move into ATLAS, and I show you how objects are linked in ATLAS, and we create relations. I show you how to modify relations and how to export network views and so on. So point second and third point we do back in ATLAS. Then we move back to the PowerPoint presentation where I introduce the basics of Hyperlink, and then we go back to ATLAS where I show it, how it actually works in action. And there are some different issues here, the analytical capabilities of network views, and that arose from a question last time, which we can add to this webinar as well, whether or not. I mean, my answer is I would not use network view function for structuring your code list. I would recommend to do it in a different way. So if you're interested in that, we can also add it to the list of options here. So yeah, once we at these various kind of logical stopping points, I will go review the question pane and take some questions in between. So then let's get started with the basic concepts of the network view function. And by the way, I do record this live session, but there's also a recorded, not live session, but that kind of basically covers the issues here without the participant questions. So you will be sent the links to the live presentation in case, yeah, we have experienced glitches, so that's why we have the backup. So you probably get both links, and you will get some handouts where I summarize all what I tell you here. I can't remember. I think this network uses quite a number of pages that I kind of collected and put together from the manual and put it into the kind of logic of this webinar. So you will be sent this material afterwards. So this is an example of an ATLAS.ti network view. You might have seen this already. And this particular network view includes some codes here, and it has a memo here. We see what I will explain later, strong link and weak link relations. So these relations are named, and we see these gray lines here indicating this code belongs to that primary document. So what you see here in that network view is that lots of all the different objects in ATLAS can be part of a network view. So these are not even all objects. That basically all objects you work in, also families, quotations, can be part of an ATLAS network view. What you need to be aware of, that ATLAS can link objects via directed and non-directed links. So these two codes are linked via a non-directed symmetric relation. It has two arrows at both sides. The directed relations, also called transitive or links, they have one arrow pointing to a particular direction. You can remember the word easily. It's transitive, transport, train, all of these either verbs or subjects. They can move an object into a particular direction. So we need to know these vocabulary when we define relations, whether it's a transitive and whether it's or a symmetric relation. I will add a third one, but for now, let's keep this a symmetric one, two arrows at both sides, not indicating, just indicating these two objects are related, but not, or codes, but not pointing into a particular direction. So these ATLAS calls these strong link relations because they are named. And then you have already seen some other lines here in between where we don't have a name. So these are weak link relations. So all these, there's a name, and you see it's between two codes. It's a strong link relation. And we will also here see between two quotations. We have strong link relations. So you can name the relations between two codes, and you can name the two relations between two quotations. Yeah, this quotation is video quotation, has a comment. Now you recognize it by the different symbols. This is a normal textual quotation. So we see that quotation here is linked to the code, and that is not named, so it's a weak link relation. Again, this quotation is a quotation of this document, so it's also not named, it's a weak link relation. So remember code and quotations, there we can name the relation. So we have another example of weak link relations. We have the code here, and we can import all quotations for a code into a network view. You can also display context or more context, or jump from here to the text. We'll see that in ATLAS. So then, apart from the links, the directed and non-directed one. Oh, Isabel's sound is gone. Everybody else can still hear me, or so Isabel has to restart, or because her sound is completely gone. So I speak maybe a bit slower, so she can catch up again. So you have these named links to clearly express the relationship. So ATLAS, that's also often a question, does ATLAS create these network views? Well, there are some automatic type option when I explain you the analytical functions, but normally it's you who have to actually name the relation, create the network views, and establish the relations between two codes or between the other objects in the network view. This table lists all the standard relations that come with ATLAS when you install the software. So here we see it's associated with, as part of this course of conflicts, is a known name, is property of. These come from network theory. Then a relation has three labels. So it's a label 1, label 2, and that's actually the standard label here, the relation name. With the display option, you can either change between view label 1 or label 2. Maybe if you need more room, you only want a sign or just a letter, but we talk about more about that when we get into ATLAS. For now, just remember you have three ways of defining relation, and you can switch the display. The relation can be, the line can be thicker or thinner, so you can define the width, and the color. It doesn't have to be black. Here we see the formal attributes, and I haven't mentioned this one. There's property of, it's an asymmetric relation. So it has two arrows to both sides, so it actually has one arrow, so it looks like a transitive relation, but behaves like a symmetric one. So that that is the description. Transitive relation can be utilized by the query tool. It can kind of query hierarchy, so you can collect all quotations of codes below a particular code or above a particular code. So you can utilize the transitive relations for that. The asymmetric relations look like a transitive one, but they don't have any effect on data retrieval in the query tool. So I think for now, to get started, I suggest remember to work with either directed or non-directed relations. About the retrieval in query tools, well, when we talk about the hierarchies, then I can add some more words related to that. So that brings us to the end of the basic concept for the network views before we start later to work with hyperlinks. Brief pause here for opening up for a question if there are any questions, and before I now move into the software, that may be probably your question, like how do we do this in Atlas? So let me go and open Atlas. I work here with the Children and Happiness project that comes already when you install Atlas. You find it here under the Help menu, Quick Tour. Stage 1 is not coded, Stage 2 is coded. Well, the coded project does have already a number of network views. Yeah, you can access network views here under the Network View button, or you can access network views in the Network View Manager. These are already established networks, so I actually move over to the same project but without linked codes, so none of the codes are linked here, so we can actually practice linking codes. So open the code manager, and I usually have the single column view to save space on the screen. Yeah, the standard view is detailed, and then you have lots of information here which you often don't need. The groundedness and density count is also shown in the single column view. That's the two numbers behind here. And the density count gives you the number of linkages to other codes. So it's completely zero here all the way through. So none of these codes are linked. So now we can actually start linking from scratch and no interference. So once I link two codes to each other in one particular way, if I bring up these codes in the network view, they always will be linked. Yeah, so that's why I start with a clean project, so I'm not linking, kind of opening up linked codes that are already linked to other objects. Just to show you that the colors show up in the network view, I just select now here 4 codes that all have a different color. Yeah? So you know, probably the color button here where you can color your codes. Then I selected these codes holding down the control key and open the network view button. This is for opening what Atlas called the focus network view. So it immediately opens up all codes and the linkages if they exist. But as I mentioned, I on purpose didn't include any linkages here. So I have these codes here. You see the different colors they pop up. If you want it differently, you can play around here with the different option here. I show the user-defined colors and the field nodes. Yeah, if you rather have it like this, just having their color as labels, yeah, you can change this. Each node, all of these objects are called node here, with their memo nodes, code nodes, quotation nodes. So they're nodes. You can move with your mouse and individually resize. Yeah. So if you show the groundedness and density count, you have like funny. It shows like it's the box is just splitting it in the middle of the word. You can resize it. I won't go through all the display option. That is something easy you can actually also try out at home. The numbers, groundedness and density, that is display extended code labels. So if you don't want to see the numbers, you can actually also hide them. You can also not show the bitmaps. These are these code icons and so on. But based on these icons, you can then distinguish what kind of objects you have in here. So now, if I click on a code, you see a red dot pops up here on the top left. Then you can grab it with your mouse and drag it to the other code. Now I take the link it is associated with, and you see it has two arrows pointing to each side. And I have the relation here in the middle. So if I'm now taking this part of a relation, we have one arrow pointing to the other code. All these, the relations here are interactive, so I can click on it. Now if you click here, you get a different context menu. So once you're here, you see the mouse is changing, and then you can click right. And here you have the option to cut the link, flip the link, doesn't make sense here with a symmetric relation, or also change the relation, then a different one pops up. You see that has a thicker line, or if I use, I think that one difference between is red and a bit thicker, so you do see that colors can be user defined. And that is not one of the standard relations. This is a relation I already have created. Yeah, and well, I'm thinking these as well. This is one of the standard relation. Here we can flip the link if your cursor should go the other way around. You can also comment, yeah, on a relation. Right, short comment on why these two objects are linked. And then with everything else in Atlas, well, I save it now, you get the tilde sign. So all commented objects have that little wave here in the end, the tilde, so indicating, and if you click on it, the comment is shown. Click to edit if you want to add some more information to it. So this is how you link. You see that's actually quite easy. You can unlink by cutting the link, or also clicking here on the unlink nodes button in the toolbar. What I want to show you now is how to link multiple objects. So I'm just drawing a frame around these three codes. You may also hold down the control key. And now I have to use the link button from the toolbar. So I click on the link button, and now click on my purple code here, or lilac, whatever it is, and select one of the relations here. That means you have to use one relation for all codes you link, but that also means you might want to change it later on. Yeah, so linking actually is quite easy. You just drag, drop the red dot. That is also the case if you add different objects to this network view. So if I make this full screen, add other nodes. So I can say import nodes, and then you see all the other objects that I can also link. So I can add code families here, memos, memo families, network views, basically only as placeholders, so you can expand the network view into another one, but another window opens. I can add primary document or primary document families. In here I will show that later. It's kind of a nice object option for graphic images because they become thumbnails in network views, and we can add quotations. So if I just maybe click on some quotations here, well, these don't happen to be coded by any of these codes, otherwise they would immediately be, the link would immediately be would show up. And I can also add a memo here, for example. You can also drag drop from the margin area. There I will have to decrease it again and load an object, load a document. So I actually do have a margin area. And if I take a code, for example, from the margin area, it's immediately also shown in the network view. So now I have a number of objects in my network view here, and if I now link the memo to the code, you see I'm not asked for any relation. I can link the memo to the memo. I can link quotations to memo. Yeah, you see these are all second class relations. If I link quotations, and we'll talk more about that, these are the hyperlinks, but I can also create hyperlinks in network views. Now you see I get a different list of relations here, because when you link on the data level, you need different relations. It's you argue on, there's a different way of arguing, working, analyzing your data. And so that's why ATLAS offers, discusses, criticizes, expands, explains all of these, apart from quotes and supports author. It's continued by, I think, also the standard relation. Now I take discusses. So this is a hyperlink. You can create those in network views, but I also will show you later how you do it on the data level directly. So we have second class relations here, and we have first class here, second class here, strong and weak link relations. I think I'm hiding my question pane now behind the window. Anyway, don't want to miss any questions at the moment, but I can't see the question pane. For now, I will start looking for it later. It's somewhere hidden. So now we see here we have a number of objects here. Well, just think through that. And if I link this quotation to a code, what does it actually mean? To also see that the number is going up, and trying to look for the question pane, which no, this is all. Well, let's go back here with some output. Maybe use chat function. I can still have it on my screen. So please, if you do, I think small. So please do use the chat function, because I can still see the chat function if you want to communicate with me. So I think that's the fastest solution for now. So any answer maybe in your mind, what it actually means if I link a quotation to a code here. What I did here, I basically coded that quotation 1.1 with that code. So I have and you see also the numbers going up. So there's the groundedness. It was 2 before, it's 3 now. So if I go back to the data, you would actually see that this data segment 1.1 is coded with the quotation. And you actually can access the data from the network view. So I right-clicked and said list quotations. And here now I have to go back to the data. If I now click on the quotation, and I'm in context of the data. And this is now opening up document 4 and highlighting it somewhere on the screen. I have to work with one small laptop screen right now. And so you see, in any case, when working with Atlas, it's always nice to have big screens or a second screen where I can just move the network to a second screen and then actually view the data and in the context also of the network view. So it was just highlighting it here in context. So the network views are not just images. You can also access the data from here or double click on a memo and the text pops up. We can also include some more text from the quotation. That's a so-called quotation verbosity. Can be the name or the comment or the full text. The full text, of course, sometimes, you can do that only with selected quotations and maybe resizing it a bit. So some quotations you can have in the network view, but you see it's immediately crowding the view, of course. And then you can kind of go down, for example, just to show the name, which is just the first 30 characters by default. But at least you see the beginning words of the quotation and maybe reminding you of what comes afterwards. So now we have created, well, a somewhat nice picture. And if I click now on closing the network view, Atlas will ask me whether I wanted to save this network view. What Atlas means with that method is it will save that particular image you see on your screen. The linkages we have created, they are saved within the HU. So next time we save the HU, these linkages are basically they are there. So you don't have to save a network view if you only want to save your linkages. But if you want to preserve that view, and now we added lots of other objects here as well, then you may as well say, yes, I want to save this network view. Just keep this code in mind. Explanation narcissistic, or a different word, narcissistic culture. And we see it has 3 linkages, and I can bring up the linkages immediately with this focus network view. But I have to use a different way of opening the saved network view. I just call it webinar example. So now all saved network views, as we have seen earlier, will be saved here under the network symbol here under projects or in the network view manager. So I can bring it up here again, and then it will bring up the network the same way as I've arranged it. So as soon as I move something around, if I want to close it, I will be asked whether I want to save these changes. Now I want to go to this code. I just remember the example and the difficult word here, narcissistic culture. We see it has 7 quotations linked to it and has 3 codes linked to it. Yeah, so this is the number of quotations the code is coding. And here we have the 3 linkages, and if I click on the network view, this brings up only the links, the linked objects that are directly linked, so that not those objects that are indirectly linked to it. Yeah, I can't remember whether that already has. Yeah, we can see that there's some other. We see it's not no other code, so importing code neighbors doesn't mean anything. There's no memo, otherwise it would actually indicate that. Yeah, so we can import the quotations. Well, whether I rather do that here, otherwise we get too many quotations. Yeah, so be careful with that option. You see it here with the numbers. If you have 25 quotations linked and you use the import option, then yes, then you going to have lots of quotations in here at once. Let me remove this object now here. So you have to be careful with remove and delete. Delete the code means it's not just deleted from this network view, it means you delete that particular code, which is now coded with 2 quotations linked to one code, is going to disappear from your project. You will be warned. You can't delete anything that's linked to something. And then latest you have to click no here. If you want to get rid of something in the network view, you click on remove from view, or the delete button on your keyboard has the same functionality. So now I just click on the delete button on my keyboard. You can't see, but I can just tell you if I do, and it's not reacting on my keyboard. Not reacting on my, then do the, well, let's do the remove from view option. What I wanted to show you here is that now we see that this code actually is linked to three codes, and we only see one. So you can always expand in network view and import codes, and it will import it here into the network view. So as soon as you see there are linked objects by the numbers, you can also always import. It's like if there would be a memo, Atlas would actually show this not in gray but in black, and you could also import the linked objects one by one. So now we have another pretty network, and based on this network, I can actually also show you how to export the network and bring it into other applications. You can either save this as a graphic file, and then you have different various graphic options. BMP, TIFF, GIF, yeah, use JPEG, the kind of standard file formats you probably know. So I'm not going to show you that option. I will show you the option how to copy to the clipboard, because it requires a particular way of inserting it, like to see the network view as image. Here you also have the option to only copy selected nodes, if I would have selected something before. So I copy all nodes. So this now has been just copied to my clipboard, and I go into Word. And I have to always get this message at the moment until tomorrow to fix this. And I just paste the network. So if I just press paste, I get the network as text, which we don't want. Or maybe sometimes we want that as text, but normally actually you do want to have this as image. That's why you do have to go, this is German Windows Note, but this is paste and paste special. That's in English. If you have an older version of Windows, you have to go to edit and then paste special under the edit menu, but that's Office 2003. So I guess most people will have Office 2007 and later now. So here, if you click on paste special, or whatever that is in your language, then you get these options to choose from. And the first option, that's what happens if you just paste, it's a rich text option. You have to use the independent or device independent bitmap. So that's, look for the bitmap option, and then that word is device independent. And then you click on OK, and voila, we have the network in Word or PowerPoint or any other application you want to work with. Yeah, you can make it smaller and larger. Maybe work with Word Art to add some arrows, pointers, or put this into a graphic program if you want to do some more editing on this. Yeah, so this is how you would get that network view into other applications. Graphic file, I guess you know how to insert a graphic file or either copy to clipboard option. So I do see my question pane again now. So in case you do want to write in the question pane, any questions so far up to this point? Then please take a moment to write. What I want to show you now actually is how to create these relations that are not standard relations. Yeah, so you either open the relation editor while you actually link two objects, and if none of these relations actually fit, then you click on Open Relation Editor. So that's one way of getting at the relation editor, just while you work, Open Relation Editor. You do find the relation editor also here under Links, Edit Relation, and then we have the code relations and the hyperlink relations editor. So we have seen already code links as strong links and the links between two quotations, and that Atlas does offer us different types of relations. The way I show you now how to create code relations are the same as creating hyperlink relations. So the technical mouse clicks are the same. If you don't happen to have a network view open, you can also always go via the network view menu. So the logic of Atlas is that you find all relevant options when you want to do something with documents. You go to the documents menu. If you want to do something with codes, you go to the codes menu. So if something is related to the network view function, like showing the links, and we're going to go there later, or if you want to create new relations, here you find also the two relation editors. So make this full screen also to hide all this other stuff behind. So if you open the relation editor, it might be the case that you don't see these two menus here behind it. So then if you drag it a bit, these menus will pop up. So you see this is empty now, but we can click on a relation and then you can modify the options you have here. Make it, change the labels or modify it, give it a different color, make the line thicker and so on. So this is how you would modify. You see, you can't modify the internal ID. So you once define this internal ID. This is how Atlas distinguishes between the relations, and it has to be different for each of the relations. The labels can be the same, but which of course normally you shouldn't. But what needs to be clearly different is this particular ID. So to create a completely new relations, you have to select Edit, New Relation. And then all of these boxes are free and empty. And we can, for example, create a relationship is consequence of. As ID, where the standard is to use capital letters, you don't have to, and I usually use the first 3 or 4 letters of the relation I want to create. And then the full text should be your menu text is consequence of. And then you can think of what you want to use for label 1 and 2. Maybe for label 1, sometimes you want just a line, you don't want a name there. And for label 2, I use the German here. Almost the same as consequence von. So you could utilize this, for example, for using different languages, Spanish and English, French and English, and so on, depending the type of languages you're going to work or you have presentations in. And then you can switch between the labels and the views. You should, of course, be consistent so that all your label 1s are just maybe nothing or just symbols. All your label 2 is your second language, and all your menu labels is your first language. Then I make the line a bit thicker and use a green color. And the line should be solid. And then I have to define the property. So here we see the three properties: symmetric, asymmetric, and transitive. And is consequence of is a transitive relation. Yeah, so it's a directed relation. And I'll click OK. And this relationship is saved and created. And as I opened the relation editor from the menu, I now would have to, if I wanted to use it, change the relationship for this one, and then now it actually should come up here as consequence of, and you see it's green and fat and a directed relation. So I do see a question here. So now just have to open up my question pane again. Isabel asked, can I import the results from a code co-occurrence table directly into a network? We will get to that a bit later. I mean, the direct answer is no, but we can actually do something very similar in the co-occurrence table. In network, we can actually import co-occurrence codes here. So to do the same what the table does here in the network view, meaning the co-occurrence table is provides numbers and then access to the data. Here we get the visual equivalent. Yeah, so I will take that, pick up on that question when I show you the analytic options of network views. Actually, I'm paying attention to the clock now, so I've been very optimistic in terms of time. I've been telling you a lot, right and left. So I guess I have to speed up a bit. So now I've shown you how to create a new relation and applied it. I already have exported network views, so we've done with that part of it. So let me then change topics, move over to hyperlinks before we actually get back to the analytic functions of the network views. So I don't, oh well, let me save this and then we have it as well. And so we stop the presentation here. And there were a few slides on the network, on the hyperlink function. So hyperlinks allow you to work on the data level. As you probably know, you don't have to code data. You can just create a quotation and then start linking. These quotations happen to have codes, but then they're coded. These seem to be very similar, so they're coded by code B, but they contradict a particular statement. And if you want to indicate that, then you can use hyperlinks, for example. So what do you need to know about hyperlinks? So we have seen this already in the network view. Quotations, increased verbosity, so you have the full text here. And this is a link of network view of hyperlinks with some codes attached. So when working with hyperlinks on the data level, then you can create the stars and chains. Yeah, so with the star, you start with the source quotation, link it, this is a chain, link it to a target, then the target becomes source and continue linking. Yeah, and then you of course create a chain. With the star, the source quotation remains the source, and you start linking the other objects. So we will see it once we're in ATLAS. You will be asked whether you want to create a star, a chain, or want to quit. If you do it visually in a network view, then of course you determine right away whether it's, and then you also not ask whether it's stars or chains. But if you within ATLAS. So let's immediately go back to ATLAS, so I can show you how to link data on the data level. So this is not an interview, but you can just pretend that this person is saying something up here, and later on in the document, that person contradicts each other. which might be, happens quite some time in interviews. People become more confident, and they may just tell you different things towards or in the middle of the interview. So then you select this first quotation, say create link source, so Atlas remembers the source. Basically, we can only see it here at the bottom, start anchor defined, and now it in between has actually created a recover backup, so it's already disappeared. Then you move on to another quotation in the document, or if it's not a quotation already, you can also create one. Yeah, so you can also say, well, create a quotation, and now you want to link it to the source quotation we have created before. So now we select link target, and you see we have these relations we have seen before. So we have contradicts, for example. And now you see star chain quit. And we don't want to continue here, so I just say quit linking. And so immediately you see the hyperlink here in the margin area. So I can now double click on it, and it will show up the quotation, and I can click it to visit. Or I hold down the Control key while I click on the hyperlink, and it jumps immediately. That's pretty much like double clicking on a hyperlink if you're somewhere online, and it jumps to the linked object. And then of course we could continue linking and create this as source again. So I do produce a chain. But you can also do this across documents. It doesn't have to be within a document. So we can actually link it here to this quotation, create link target, now we say, and here we say support. Yeah. If I move back to that other quotation, it loads the other document. Now I have two hyperlinks. And I can also open it up in a network view. Right click on the hyperlink, open network view, and here we have also immediately brings up the codes that are linked, and this is linked to that quotation, and here we can also expand it. Yeah, so basically our chain goes a bit around the circle now, but here this is our chain of arguments basically that is now shown in the network view. And again, you can also access documents from behind. Double click, click to visit basically, and you are in context. So you can work both on the, save this now, as the links are already preserved, so if I don't want that particular view, I don't have to save it. So you can work on the data level if you have some immediate need to linking, but of course you can also link the objects in network views or make it visible later on. So I have a question here. I have a code that only shows up in the family code list. It won't show up in the basic code list, and I cannot pull it into the network view. What can I do? Or did I do something wrong? You have a code that only shows up in the family code list. But then, are you sure that is a code? I would, if it's only in the, what I think you mean, I open up the code manager, I only have one code family here. You mean this is, this only shows up here in that side panel, then that is not a code, then that's a code family. And you can also open network views on code family. Mother family codes show up in the basic code list. You would need to send me your HU for me to verify that. So I'm not, I mean, what I'm assuming, I mean, if it's not here in that code list, then it's not a code. If it's listed here, it's a code family. So I think you may mix up the family code, that already moves us a bit away from the hyperlinking issue. But in my also, I guess that's those questions always come up here. The codes listed here, and I may just open up the coded project here. Code families are not codes, they're just a group of codes, because you say family codes. A code family is not a higher order. It's not, you don't have your category listed here. So you should, and if you view this code list, and maybe you have read my book and then you're familiar with how, and I've seen projects that I've coded, your main code, what you may call family code, should be here in the list of codes. The code families you use for analytic purposes, you use as filters. So these code families, remember, family starts with an F and filter starts with an F. A code family serves as a filter. If I click on here, I can filter all my codes related to whether children bring happiness, or effects of parenting, negative effects of parenting, positive effects of parenting. So sometimes, of course, code family here is the same as a category, but not necessarily. Yeah, so I have also like kind of look here that I have, these are all attribute codes, but these are a number of codes from different code families and or from different categories. This is one code family having codes from different categories. You see it here based on the colors. So I think what you refer to as family codes might be your higher order codes, and you should distinguish higher and lower order codes in your what you call basic code list. So your higher order code, I use capital letters for those to indicate Atlas only knows codes. The code families is a group of codes. It's not a higher level. Families, same as PD families, you can have the different codes in, not the same codes in different families. So it's based on that, you can already see that this is not a good idea of actually organizing or having your higher, or thinking about the code families as higher order codes, because it's not a hierarchical list. You can have multiple codes the same codes in different families. And related to the network view function, and for that I actually should bring up a project where this has been done, and actually it shows you how then if you go the full circle later on with your network views, and I just have to go and look for that project first while I'm talking. If from the process of your work, the coding is done, then you work with your codes, you start writing your analytic memos, you start getting insights into your data, and that means the network views come probably more towards the end. So I'm now almost there. So once you start seeing how things are related, and if you build up your code system already in a less than optimal way, you end up running into troubles once you work with networks. So it's really important that you do start building your code system in the proper way, so you don't end up having problems. This is German, but I think you will get this is about health prevention. I hate this slider here. It's always not doing what you want it to do. There is the mouse. So the code list in some way looks structured, but it is not really. It has, I have to click now somewhere inside here, for example, for this. No, that was exactly the wrong way. And what you see here is the word Bedarf. I want to actually point out. In the BDs, you see these are needs in German, so I have to click here for this too. So here, we have all these codes listed 21, and you see the frequencies is very, very low for each code. So these codes are actually not on the right level. And if you start summarizing it here, what you call family codes, this is called target groups, this is themes, this is called structure strategy. I mean, you see the similar words in English as well. So what the main category is actually needs, and then the subcategories are whatever is here in the families. So analytically, in terms of thinking, the right work was done, but using the wrong tools. Yeah, using code families as something like higher order codes, which they aren't. And now I'll show you what is the end of the story. Once you're working with network views, then you see the network views are empty. So once your codes are not on the right level, then you will see zeros, 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 zeros. We have one here with 7 quotations linked to it. So that network view you could have done a bit prettier. Well, this was a version 5 project, so we didn't have colors yet. So this is that's why it's all gray. You could have done this a bit prettier in a graphic program. So this has no data behind it. So if your codes are not up on the right level, then you can't create meaningful networks. Yeah, and if the issue is the named relations we can only do between codes. We can't do based on code families. You can show a code family in a network view. Yeah, we can bring it up in a network view, but it's weak linked relations. Yeah, so you can see all the codes of this code family here in and we don't even know. Yeah, this is low-level code, so these are not even. The proper subcodes are actually in different code families. Yeah, so I'm thinking when you talk about family codes, this might actually be an issue to you. So we actually have been talking a bit now, explaining the question why I would not suggest using network views for structuring your code purpose, because you end up at different levels of analysis. Use the networks for conceptual level work, and keep your structuring and sorting your codes here in the list as working with prefixes. MK Keller, I don't know what your proper first name is. I mean, that might be something we may take up later on, or write a message to the help desk why you think your one code doesn't show up in your basic code list. I would need to see your HU to do so I don't think we can answer this here in the webinar session. And please do contact me just in the Q&A question, and I will get your question. We can take it up there. Yeah, so this has brought us almost to the end of the hour. Let me just quickly go back my PowerPoint presentation. So we actually have talked about the basic concepts for both hyperlinks and network views. I've shown you how to link objects, how to create relations, and if you have another 5-10 minutes of more time, I will start. I mean, if you have to leave the webinar, you're welcome to leave, and it is covered in the video that you will be sent, the analytic capabilities of network views. But and the question on using network views for hierarchical purposes is covered in the video as well. So in case you need to go, I say goodbye at this point, and thanks for listening. For those who have a few more minutes, I will go back to my actually linked project, where I have all these linkages already, and come back to Isabel's question on importing co-occurring codes, and how you might kind of combine the tools, or at least the particular answers related to co-occurring type questions. I will reduce this list of codes soon. Let me stay with this family here. And you will see we have the yellow, the green worked very well in network, not very well here in the code list. These are all reasons for having children and reasons for not having children. And as these are block data and not normal regular interview data, it was coded for persons who have children and who don't have children. So this is a classical kind of cross-tabulation comparing answers of those who have children and who don't have children related to their reasons for having children or not having children. So we can use either the co-occurrence tool to do that, then we get the numbers and we get the overview of the numbers, or we can also answer this question using the network view function, getting a visual answer of that. And for this is a code family manager. So if you wanted to clean up some codes in the you can't delete codes here from the side panel. You would have to do it here and to make it a bit less crowded. I exclude the reasons for not having children from this family. For now. So we end up with a family just having children, not having children. So in order for this option to work in the network view, I also do have to actually open, yeah, it does work. I have to work with global filters. If I don't work with global filters, then let me just pick on one code, doesn't matter, and open the network view. And if I click on import co-occurring code, so that the operation is the same as the co-occurrence table, I get a very crowded network view. So it's now importing all codes that at least co-occur once in the network view. And yeah, so it might be a pretty picture, and this is actually not too bad, but I have some relations already in this project. They will of course pop up, but immediately you get lots and lots of codes in the network view, and that looks like all great, but it is not very, very meaningful. So you should approach this a particular research question in your mind, and then set global filters. So if I now set global filters, only these codes that are in the list now, and you see that pale yellow color here in the background, only these codes will remain now also in my Atlas, on my Atlas screen. And now actually I open up a new network, create a new network view, call it D1. And if I open a focus network view on this one now, it would immediately show the 46 links that I've already created here. So actually, if I now say import co-occurring codes, it's only importing those reasons for having children codes and not the other ones. And in this, did I click on it? It's still there. And I already have linked these beforehand. So normally it would only show the codes that are imported, and then you would have to create the links. And one nice option to kind of spread codes around a network view is a semantic layout. Then these codes that are on top of each other will be spread around the screen. Yeah. So now you see all the codes reasons for having children. So let me reduce this network view. And now I go to those who don't have children and create a network view. Call this T2. Add that one code here and do the same, import co-occurring codes. And this has to go through all the data now. And now we see we have, at least we already have fewer reasons. Now, of course, once you have linked these to each other, you can also bring them into one network view. Yeah, so if I, that means at first they're not linked, you start linking them, so you can actually add these other code now here once they are linked. So I import the ones don't have children here into this network view, and there's difference between option I already created. And I immediately see, and you have to rearrange the codes a bit to where they give the same reasons and where they give different reasons. And these are all the same. We have some codes, reasons for having children, that are not applied, where parents and non-parents have different views. All of these here at the bottom, these are the same arguments they use, but these are particular reasons, shaping a human life, focus on illusion, these and so on here, ritual life and so on. These are only provided by parents, and these are provided by those who don't have children. And so you can see difference between objects. So that's one of these more automated options where you can actually see the co-occurring codes in a represented in a visual type of way, whereas a co-occurrence table explorer, and those who don't know where it is, it's under the analysis menu, the co-occurrence table. I think that was Isabel referring to before. One last option I want to show is an option where you can actually compare cases. So I bring up the two blogs, the New York Times blog and the Belkin Parenting blog, into a network. And now I can also import, now use the import option here, the import code option. And as you can work with filters, so those familiar with version 6, the filters didn't apply to network views, and this option wasn't available in the, you couldn't select the objects. So now this has become meaningful. So now I can import the codes to see whether there's a difference between the different blocks here. And it's showing me the links immediately, and of course I have to do this again on the second document because something else comes up. Yeah. So these reasons here at the bottom. Should have left it as it was before. Can I? Yeah, that was, I think I could see that better. So we see here two codes that only applies in the parenting blocks and not in the New York Times block. So there's some difference between the two documents. So imagine your interviews and your cases or whatever is cases in your data. You can set a family, code family as filter, and it only imports those codes, and you need to see whether the code has been applied to the document or not, whether there's a difference between the documents. And what is also what you see here, once a relation is created between two codes in Atlas, it will immediately show up. So whatever every object you link, and if that's imported into a network view, the relation you have created is already shown immediately. That creates some issues related to case-based networks, which I don't have the time now to actually go into in this webinar. It is explained in the book, if you're interested in that, where I explain how to work with case-based network views. So that brings me to the end of this webinar, and thanks for staying on for another 10 minutes. And I could probably talk for another half hour, so I actually I didn't. Maybe we should split it again into different topics, and keeping the analytic functions for analysis webinar to keep it really down to a nice short hour. So I don't see any more questions. If you come to think of something later on, you're welcome to write them through the kind of feedback channel you receive after the webinar, so we can take it up via email. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. You will get an evaluation form, so if there's anything you liked, you didn't like, so please let us know. We don't do this for very long yet, these short webinars, so please let us know. Especially those things that you didn't like, some constructive feedback, so we can improve on these webinars. Yeah, you will be contacted by the training center, and otherwise via email directly to me or via the help desk. We can take up single questions related to your projects. Okay, then I say goodbye and have a nice evening, day, wherever you are in this world. Bye-bye.